being a starship captain can be a complicated profession, and so sometimes you'll need a crew. Hey guys, I'm Morphologist, and in this video I'm going to introduce you guys to the two options that they have in Star Citizen right now for an entry-level multi-crew ship. And I want to tell you which of the two I think you should get. Now, if you're a little more experienced with Star Citizen, you might think you know the answer, but as I discovered, sometimes what's good on paper isn't good in reality. So I hope you'll join me for this experience, and if you liked it by the end and think I deserve it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to help me grow the channel. So over this past weekend on Twitch, I jumped into both of these ships with you guys as part of a community event to test out which would be the better of the two. Now, I had some preconceived notions of which would be better. I thought I knew the answer to this question, but I was proven wrong in the hours that I streamed with you guys. Because as I said at the beginning of this video, sometimes ships look better on paper than they are in reality. So let's jump into the first of the two options, the Drake Cutlass Black. This ship has 3 slots for crew members, a pilot seat, a co-pilot seat, and a gunner. For the pilot, they're able to control 4 size 2 gimbaled weapons that can be swapped out for 4 fixed size 3s. The turret, on the other hand, has 2 size 3s. She's a pretty bare-bone design and has only room for sleeping 2. It's a pretty utilitarian design, so you're really going to have to love that kind of style for you to get into this kind of ship. On paper, she's also able to haul approximately 46 SCU of cargo. But this video is about the experience, not so much about what's on paper, and so how does this thing actually behave in combat when you've got a competent gunner along with you and a co-pilot to modulate ship systems? Well, I must say that the experience was pretty okay. Using the ship gimbals on the pilot seat made getting those smaller targets a lot easier. I definitely wouldn't recommend using size 3 fixed. They're just too hard to hit small targets with when you're doing these pirate missions. Now, if your gunner is able to hit a lot of shots, it's actually going to lower the time to kill considerably, and so you're going to want to take somebody pretty skilled with you, or at least get a lot of practice in with them before you go into combat, for real, with other players. Shooting pirates is just the perfect sort of practice to do this. Her maneuverability is also really good. She flies a bit like a heavy version of a fighter, able to move around asteroids and other ships pretty easily, and those big engines make acceleration a piece of cake. This is no slouch when it comes to speed. However, if you stick around for a little bit too long against multiple targets, its single shield module really starts to show its shortcomings. Only having around 14 to 15,000 in the health pool for those shields makes it really hard to tank any damage with this thing, especially if you're going against somebody who's using, say, ballistics, which have a chance to strike through shields and blow up modules or even your main ship's power systems. Hopping in the size 3 turret of the Cutlass Black can be pretty rewarding, especially when you land those shots. Size 3 weapons are no joke, and they will melt smaller ships. However, at the moment, Star Citizen requires quite a bit of skill to continually hit targets. Getting that crosshair in the lead pip can be very challenging at times. And even with the best sort of pilot, it can be downright impossible if you're facing off against a very small ship that continually does flybys. CIG though has said that it is a work in progress, and so I hope in the future we'll see some sort of addition that allows for you to do something like a soft lock on that pip if you get close enough. That way even, beginners can start to lock on a little bit more easily and hit their shots. Outside of mechanics and exclusive to the ship though, I think the struts can sometimes hamper the experience a bit. Now, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. If you'd seen the earlier version of the Cutlass, you would have just balked at just how bad it was. Now it's better, you get more visibility, but it's still a little bit difficult sometimes, especially if they're flying in your blind spot. But what about that other ship, the Freelancer? Let's take a look at that now. The Misc Freelancer is a bit of a polar opposite to the Drake Cutlass Black. Where the Drake is hard-edged and utilitarian, the Misc Freelancer is a bit more rounded and well put together looking. It has a bit more of a high-tech feel to it versus the low-tech on the edge of the galaxy feel of the Cutlass. It boasts 96 SCU over the 46 in the Freelancer, so it's got quite a bit more storage, and it has more room for more crew, up to 4 up front and 1 gunner in the back. However, the gunning position in this ship is a bit smaller with 2 size 2 weapons versus the 2 size 3s on the Cutlass Blacks. This firepower deficiency, however, is more than made up for by the 2 gimbaled turrets on either side of the ship that are controlled by the pilot, which combined control 4 size 3 weapons. Unfortunately, for when I was testing, I did not have the stock version to use, and so I was using my personal upgraded version, the Misc Freelancer military version, which gives it extra missiles and a different stock loadout. Something you should know though is that the stock Freelancer can be upgraded to a military-esque version by just swapping out the weapons, and so for this comparison, I don't think it really matters too much if you ignore the missiles. Now on paper, this is a pretty similar ship to the Cutlass Black, but in reality, you really feel how much heavier the Freelancer is than the Cutlass. Where the Cutlass handles as a maybe slightly heavier fighter, this thing definitely handles like a big ship, and so you're not going to be able to outturn smaller targets. You'll find yourself wanting to directly approach and then leave the area and reapproach so that you can keep your enemies in your crosshairs. This, however, is thankfully slightly mitigated by the fact that the Freelancers got turrets on the side versus just gimbaled weapons, which means that they have a greater range of motion for hitting ships off axis. As a pilot, this is also a lot more of a rewarding experience. When you're able to land your shots with your gimbaled turret weapons, the size 3s absolutely shred not just small targets, but big targets as well. Observe just how fast I'm able to shred this constellation down to nothing. And I think this is one of the biggest differences between these two ships. The Cutlass does a lot of damage if the pilot's able to land shots, but it can't match the power of gimbaled size 3s against both small and large targets. Hopping in the gunner seat though is where things started to defy my expectations a bit. Now I expected this turret to be pretty garbage as it was in the past, but what I discovered and what others discovered in the stream with me as they tried for themselves is that even though this has smaller weapons and it doesn't have as great of a range of motion, the experience was for some reason a lot more satisfying and easy to use because of the visibility. I don't think this comes down to hitting more of my shots though. Visibility doesn't really improve that too much. What it does improve though is the feeling and experience, maybe even a bit of your situational awareness. The single biggest difference though between these two ships that I discovered was the ability to tank. See, the Freelancer has 2 shield modules versus the single one in the Cutlass Black, which means that you can stay in the fight a lot longer and you don't have to disengage quite as much. But it also means that you might have a few more moments to spare to get out of a sticky situation if you're hauling some valuable cargo, which really makes the Freelancer a bit better of a ship for hauling than the Cutlass Black. So then which ship would I recommend of the two? Which is the better option if it's your first ship that you upgrade to in-game or with real money when you back Star Citizen? Making the right choice here to recommend to you guys has been a very difficult one. It's not as simple as stacking these two next to each other in their DPS, or even telling you about purely the combat experience, because they both have different experiences outside of combat as well. For example, the literature will not tell you that even though the Cutlass Black has a technically smaller cargo bay, that you can actually do more with it. You can get a Cyclone comfortably in the back and have room on the sides, plus have additional room for another. And you have 2 side doors, which means that you can get a bunch of friends together with railguns and shoot ships out the side with it. And while yes, the Freelancer can haul more cargo, you can't really get a Cyclone in there too well. It'll fit, but getting out the sides will be a bit of a challenge. But sometimes you have to be practical and ask yourself how many times are you actually going to have a group together like that to do those crazy things? The reality? Probably not that often. And more often than not, you might be doing missions alone. And for that reason, the clear choice between these two for me is the Freelancer. While it might seem small, having an additional shield module makes a big difference in making it out the other side, especially if you're hauling some valuable cargo, which this thing can do a lot better than the Cutlass, having that extra SCU space. Additionally, if you're flying solo, those 4 size 3s on the 2 turrets make a huge difference for taking out targets quickly versus the 4 size 2s on the Cutlass Black. And the gunning position, although on paper doesn't seem that great, is in reality a lot of fun to use, and actually maybe even easier than the Cutlass. In the end though, maybe you just don't want to be as practical, and that's fine. Make your own choice, and I hope this video has helped you decide which of these two would be your first multi-crew ship. If it did help, let me know down in the comments section below, and if you disagree, let me know why you think the Cutlass Black is a better option. I've been Morphologist. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you know the next time I post a video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.